Hello, my name is Robert Haddad, and today I'll be speaking to you about the conversion of Russia and the vital role of the laity to help achieve this. When it comes to the message of Our Lady of Fatima, first delivered in 1917, most of the focus has been on the necessity of the Pope to consecrate Russia, specifically by name, to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, in union with all the bishops of the world. In the recent consecration of Russia and Ukraine, etc., by Pope Francis, much of the Catholic world was excited to see Russia specifically consecrated by name to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, in union with many thousands of bishops around the world. Yet, there is another essential element in the heavenly equation, namely the need for lay Catholics to carry out the so-called devotion of the first 5 Saturdays. What is this devotion of the first 5 Saturdays? We are first told about the need for this devotion by Our Lady in her apparition to the 3 seers of Fatima on the 13th of July 1917. Sister Lucia recounted Our Lady's words in her 3rd memoir, written in 1941. These words form part of what is now known as the second secret of Fatima. Quote, "You have seen hell, where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish in the world devotion to my Immaculate Heart. If what I say to you is done, many souls will be saved and there will be peace. The war is going to end, but if people do not cease offending God, a worse one will break out during the pontificate of Pope Pius XI. When you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that this is the great sign given you by God that he is about to punish the world for its crimes by means of war, famine, and persecution of the Church and of the Holy Father. To prevent this, I shall come to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. If my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted and there will be peace." So, originally, Our Lady called this devotion the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays, and its purpose was to forestall another worst war, namely World War II, and to convert Soviet Russia. Sadly, neither the consecration of Russia would be done when initially requested in 1929, nor sufficient devotion to Our Lady's Immaculate Heart established to prevent this second greater war. Later, on the 10th of December 1925, the eldest of the 3 Fatima seers, Lucia, now a sister in the convent of the Dorotheans in Pontevedra, Spain, received further revelations from Our Lady and the child Jesus. They came to reveal to Sister Lucia in more detail the devotion of the communion of reparation of the first Saturdays of the month. Sister Lucia described the encounter as follows. Firstly, the words of the child Jesus, quote, "Have pity on the heart of your Blessed Mother, which is pierced and covered with thorns by ungrateful men at every moment." Then the words of Our Lady, quote, "Look, my daughter, at my heart, surrounded with thorns with which ungrateful men pierce me at every moment by their blasphemies and ingratitude. You at least try to console me and announce in my name that I promise to assist at the moment of death with all the graces necessary for salvation, all those who, on the first Saturday of 5 consecutive months, shall receive the sacrament of confession, receive Holy Communion, recite 5 decades of the Rosary, and keep me company for 15 minutes while meditating on the 15 mysteries of the Rosary, with the intention of making reparation to my Immaculate Heart." Sister Lucia's confessor later gave her a series of questions about the apparitions of Ponte Vedra. One of the questions was, why 5 Saturdays and not 9 or 7, in honour of the sorrows of Our Lady? Our Lord's response came on the night of the 29th to the 30th of May, 1930. Quote, "My daughter, the reason is simple. There are 5 kinds of offences and blasphemies uttered against the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Blasphemies against the Immaculate Conception, blasphemies against her perpetual virginity, blasphemies against her divine maternity, while refusing at the same time to recognize her as Mother of Men. The blasphemies of those who publicly seek to place in the hearts of children indifference or scorn, or even hatred towards this Immaculate Mother. The offences of those who outrage her directly in her holy images. It is not difficult to conclude that most of these blasphemies and offences are, sadly, committed by the adherents of the various forms of Protestantism, with its general hostility to the Marian dogmas and all things Marian, and to a lesser degree by those of other major world religions, atheists or agnostics, and a variety of poor or nominal Catholics. Sister Lucia immediately reported this apparition to her spiritual director. In time, church authorities gave their approval, and Sister Lucia began to spread the devotion of the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. Gradually, the devotion spread throughout the Universal Church and has since become known as the First 5 Saturdays devotion. What does one have to do to fulfill this devotion? To make reparation to the Immaculate Heart of Mary and to benefit from the great promise attached to this devotion, it is important to carefully carry out all of the following. 1. Go to the sacrament of confession. 2. Receive Holy Communion. 3. Recite 5 decades of the Holy Rosary. 4. Keep Our Lady company for 15 minutes while meditating on the mysteries of the Rosary. 5. Do all of these with the intention of making reparation to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. 6. Do all of the above every first Saturday for 5 consecutive months. Note well, if one cannot go to confession on the first Saturday itself, you may go any time up to 8 days before or after the first Saturday. Sister Lucia obtained this concession from our Lord on the 15th of February 1926, after presenting the problems that this requirement posed for some Catholics. If you are currently practicing the devotion of the first 5 Saturdays, you are strongly encouraged to continue doing so. If not, you are warmly invited to now begin. You will not only have Our Lady's great promise of all the graces necessary for salvation at the hour of your death, you will also play your part to help convert Russia and usher in the great era of peace. The whole Church needs to heed the Fatima call, namely the Pope, the bishops of the world, and the laity. If we all do our part, the West would be deemed to have sufficiently converted in the eyes of heaven to avoid chastisement. Russia will be converted to Catholicism and become an instrument of Christian revival throughout the world. And the Immaculate Heart of Mary will be acknowledged as the instrument of prayer that obtained this great grace. This is a triumph Our Lady spoke of when she said, "In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph." On this note, I conclude this presentation. Thank you and God bless.